I am not okay. But I'm pretending to be, because I'm better than I was yesterday. No video log yesterday because I called in sick to work. I don't know. My mother used to be a nurse, and she claims that it's possible to have a relapse of mono, which I had like a year back. Like that it'll still keep hitting you in little bursts throughout the following months and years. I don't know what that was that I had, but I'm, somewhat better. I feel like a human being again, so that's enough. I get to go into work. I used all my sick days up when my wife was pregnant anyway, so I haven't got that much left. But today's been okay. I summoned the energy to have a good podcast with Tony. Sort of like, it's weird. Once he counts down and says, whatever, either hits 1 and I have to do the intro, or he does the intro, like, I've gotten to the point where I can just, like, flip that switch and go into podcast mode. Whoop, whoop! But I had some really interesting conversations on Twitter today. Most in-depth one was with at Yellow Foliage, and we were talking about the Transformers films, which anybody who knows anything about me knows that I am somewhat of an apologist for those movies. Not that I think that they were amazing cinema. I'm not gonna like defend them as the great works of art of our time or anything, but I defend them as being serviceable entertainment. And he was talking about, my original tweet was complaining that people either complain that they draw from material that isn't the original 1980s cartoon, or they complain that the stuff they draw from the 1980s cartoon is not stuff that they like. It's like, oh wow, this Michael Bay is super racist with his Transformers. Like, they've been like that, like, in the original material. And then they're like, oh well, Optimus Prime be killing people, what's up with that? It's like, that, well, first of all, apparently he was like that in the original cartoon as well. I can't stomach the thing myself. My like baseline of Transformers is Transformers Prime. That's where I sort of like jump off from as a Transformers fan. And I've seen some of animated. I haven't been able to really sink my teeth into that one and get into it like I did Prime, but it's very good quality stuff. And all of those have different sort of iterations of Prime, especially animated. I think their version of Prime is very interesting because in Transformers Prime, the Optimus Prime is very much almost a Jesus figure. He's like, he does no wrong. He's this strong moral compass. He knows what he's doing. He's a great leader, a great fighter. Everyone respects him. And the interesting thing about animated is they take a completely different approach, because in animated, they're not warriors. They're just these random dudes who are, like, Optimus and his crew are, in this version of it, are random guys that are out on an asteroid, like, mining stuff and repairing, gates and whatnot, like their jump gates that they used to get around. I think that was the original thing. They're out there doing some menial labor, and they just happen to uncover the Allspark and in the process, like, bounce off a Megatron and just get, like, slammed into Earth. And also, the really interesting thing about animated is it takes place in the future. So, like, it's a science fiction Earth, also with science fiction elements. Like, they meld the sci-fi bits together, so you get this weird, like, there's some interesting supervillain things going on with guys with powers and, like, weird suits that they've created through nanobots and, like, super speed suits and all this other stuff. It's a very interesting, bizarre show. But Optimus Prime in this one is, he's not the great, good, moral, like, amazing leader who does no wrong. Like, he's figuring it out. Like, he's learning the ropes, trying to figure out what he's doing, and half the time the other Autobots don't want to follow him, and that's just, as much as I wasn't able to really sink my teeth into it, there's so many great elements to Transformers Animated. Anyway, so the long story short, there's way more to Transformers than just the original 80s cartoon, and I feel like a lot of people who comment on how true of a adaptation it is don't understand that they're drawing from all of the continuum of Transformers to make these movies. But Yellow Foliage is at Yellow Foliage on Twitter was saying in response to that tweet that he felt like it was disappointing that they were less kid friendly. And I'm kind of go both ways on that, because I think about, I like that they, like the movies let them go a darker tone, like something more robust and meaty for an adult. They explore some of these themes a little bit deeper. But I do agree that there is some crassness to the movies that doesn't feel like it fits the spirit of Transformers. Throughout all these continuums, Transformers never seems like, what is the word, vulgar? Maybe I sound like a prude saying that, but there's Michael Bay brings sort of a vulgarity to the franchise that I think is somewhat disappointing, and I certainly can't, not just for thematic reasons, but there's a lot of stuff in, especially the new one, and 2 as well, I think, that I really felt like I can't watch this with my kid. In fact, I had it on my laptop just the other day, and AJ was hanging around, and I was like, all right, well, I gotta shut this off, because I cannot have him hearing these words and thinking about these things, and just, yeah. So I'm of two minds there. Like, I like the sort of Dark Knight ability to take a, of course, Batman was never like a little kid's thing anyway, except for in the Silver Age maybe, but the ability to take something like a less gravitas serious formula and bring it with a little bit more grounding and a little more grittiness. But Transformers almost wants to have it both ways and ends up missing, I think, either one of them, because it takes it, you know, it uses somewhat more serious, what's the word? Like, there's violence and the bots are killing each other and all the stakes are higher because it's a movie and all that stuff. But in a sense, like, that weird crass humor almost brings it down. Like, it makes it less heavy. You know, like, if Batman was sort of cracking dick jokes throughout The Dark Knight, you wouldn't think, man, this is like dark and gritty and mature. You would think, what? So, yeah. That's one I'm still thinking on. I think about the Transformers movies more than I should. I'm processing a lot of this stuff still. But anyway, let me know what did anybody else like these Transformers movies? Let me know in the comments. I'll think about it some more while I'm at work, and we'll see you on the flip side. I feel like I need to talk less about Transformers. That is not of general interest to people. My mom used to have this saying when we were at the dinner table, and my sister and I would be sitting there talking about whatever. We would always read the same books and then talk about them, like discussing all the stuff we liked and didn't like and character motivations, just tearing it apart. And my mom would say something to the effect of, you know, talk about something that everybody's interested in, which really meant talk about something that she was interested in. I've never been very good at that. I've never been good at sort of general interest. I'm, you know, at my core, I'm at least basically a nerd. The stuff that I like, I really like, and I talk about it way too much. Speaking of stuff that I really like, reading a book right now by a guy named Peter Watts, who is amazing, and nobody's heard of him, and I wouldn't have heard of him if he didn't have a free book that I downloaded off of minibooks.net called Blind Sight. Just a phenomenal, like, high concept, hard sci-fi novel that had a lot of great ideas and like really well developed characters, and just the sort of thing that depresses me as someone who thinks like, maybe I'll write something, get published one day. Like, I look at that and I'm like, this guy his game is so far above not only my game, like, I feel like, you know, my game's way down here, but then, like, I read other books and I'm just like, no, he's even above most of what the other stuff I'm reading is. Ridiculous how talented this guy is, and in my opinion, underappreciated. He's probably got a slew of awards on his, on his shelf or whatever, somewhere from people smarter than me who already knew about him from 20 years ago. Like, yeah, Peter Watts, he's the man. I didn't know about him. I'm reading a collection of short stories by him right now called Beyond the Rift, which is kind of how I've rediscovered him. Beyond the Rift. There's a T in that word. Beyond the Rift. That's the MST3K biography. Just made that up. Somebody write that. Anyway, no, Beyond the Rift, and it's a collection of short stories. There's just some great hard sci-fi in there too. Where the first one was the The Things, where is it like a perspective shift of the movie The Thing, where it was told from the perspective of the thing itself, and like how freaked out it was by us, and the fact that we were like solid state organisms that didn't share, and change shape. It's like, how can they survive? This is awful. Like, we were as horrifying to it as it was to us. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And then I may be missing one, but then there was one, the title I'm forgetting, but it was about like this spaceship that's going through the stars, planting portals. Right? Like, basically the idea is we developed some kind of a teleport system, but you had to plant the other end of the teleport manually. You had to fly out there at light speed, or not light speed, but like they go at 20% light speed or something. Really ridiculously fast, but still super slow when you consider interstellar distances. And they're like seeding all these different portals out towards the stars. The only problem being that the human race has basically died out. The original progenitors of the mission are all gone. They've been forgotten to history. So the woman who's the main protagonist of the story talks about like seeing things come through the portals that she's created as they're leaving, that are completely and totally alien to anything she could imagine from Earth. And she's basically got this like frustration because they can't stop. Like the ship computer that programmed them will not let them stop doing what they're doing. They gave it a very simplistic brain. Like, it's a complex brain to a degree, but it's less complex than a human because they didn't want it. They saw enough sci-fi movies. They're like, guys, we don't want this thing figuring out like, maybe we shouldn't be doing this mission. Maybe I want to go do something else. So they gave it a dumb brain that was locked into the mission. And now that the human race is gone and these people are the only people left on the ship, and they're just seeding these things out in the far yonder of the stars, they're, they have no choice because the thing like threatened to take away all their life support and whatnot. There's a cop. Is he going to turn around? I'm going to turn my light off real quick. Anyway, uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. There's one's up there right now, and we have a light, and he's gonna go right past me. Yes, 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 yes. You can't see me, cop. Anyway, so like, and then that's like just sort of background for the story, and then the main story happens when they find a Dyson sphere made of neurons around a red dwarf star, and it's redunculous. And I'm gonna turn my camera off because I'm afraid of getting pulled over by the cops. But you guys have a great one, and I will see you in the laters. Bye-bye.